Sezane is definitely up there as one of my favorite brands to shop and add to my wardrobe, and I know that the same goes for many of you as well. So I thought today we could do another Sezane brand review with the newer items that I've added to my wardrobe. One thing I want to say straight off the bat is that you have to be really discerning with what you do choose to purchase from the brand. I find that some of the fabrics can be really textured and rough or even just itchy on the skin, and that's something to be really mindful of. In my opinion, one thing that Sezane always gets right are the details, those little flourishes that really make a lot of their pieces feel very special. One thing I do tend to avoid, and you'll kind of notice this just with the items that I've added to my wardrobe here, is that I will avoid their polyamide knitwear. They have so many beautiful knits, but I find they're either too itchy or, from my experience in laundering them, they just haven't come out of the wash looking or feeling the same. And for that reason, I will only purchase their merino or cotton sweaters. So I'm going to dive right into it in no particular order, do some try-ons, share sizing and fit, and also a bit more information about the material. Hopefully this will give you a really good sense of how things fit, because I do find that their product catalog imagery is really quite, it's very aesthetic and it is very alluring. However, it doesn't necessarily always show you the full details. So I kind of want to start out with probably one of my favorite items on this rail here, and this is a recent purchase, and I thought that this would actually be really perfect for those of you who are heading to a Christmas party and want something really beautiful to wear. And it is the Noemia dress. This is a silk polka dot dress with long sleeves. It's got this deep V wrap detail across the front, and then it is a mini style. And this is lined as well. It's lined with a viscose, and it feels really comfortable against the skin. I quite like the fact that the shoulders have this slight little puff to them. The sleeves have this beautiful silk covered button. See what I mean about the details that Sezane do so well? Has a zip closure on the side, and then the wrap detail just fastens on your left hip. And I don't find it really revealing at all, although if you did want to cover up with a bit more modesty, you could wear a little camisole or even just an opaque bralette with it. This one here retails for 260 Australian dollars. I got it in the size French 36, US 4 or AU 8, and I find it fits really true to size. I do have a little bit of room at the waist as well, which is great, especially if I want to indulge when I'm wearing this, but overall I feel like it is really flattering. I like the length, and I've seen this on multiple people as well, different heights, and it looks good on everyone. So I feel like this is a really good universally flattering option. Also not one that feels overly festive, so you could wear it anytime. You could even wear this casually with some sneakers if you wanted, and maybe a little oversized blazer. So this is probably my favorite of the bunch, and one that I have really been enjoying wearing on the few occasions that I've been able to so far. The next item I want to share with you is a coat, and again it's in that black and white color palette. This one is called the Mark coat, and it is in this beautiful houndstooth. Now I decided to buy this because a few years ago, I think maybe 5 years ago or so, I used to have a houndstooth coat. Very sort of similar. It was a wrap style. It had these big oversized lapels, and it was much more of a micro houndstooth than this, and it was actually a very similar texture as well. I decided to sell it because it was a few sizes too big for me, and it always just felt a little bit too oversized, and I love something that's relaxed. When I saw this, I felt like it was going to fill that gap that had been in my wardrobe since I sold that coat, and it truly has. So I've still got the tags because it literally just landed on my doorstep this morning, but clearly I'm over the moon with it. Now this coat is composed of 65% wool and 30% polyamide, 5% other fibers. I'm assuming probably nylon. Now I personally don't have an issue with there being polyamide in my outerwear like coats or blazers. The reason being that there is a purpose for it. Quite often it is to help add some softness to the wool so it's not so itchy or scratchy against the skin, but also it gives the garment some structure as well. And it is also fully lined with this beautiful navy lining. I got this in a 36 or an AU8 or US 4, and I find it fits true to size for a relaxed fit. Really love the belt and the fact that it does have these really thick, quite robust, sturdy belt loops at the back as well, so it's not going to kind of slip out or move anywhere, and I find that it's actually quite secure. Some of the other details I didn't really notice when browsing on the website are the belted cuffs as well, and the really large buttons there, which adds a nice little detail to the front. And I do really like the fact that you do have the banded section here where the pockets are. I just think it looks a little bit more luxe. In terms of how the fabric actually feels in my hand, it does have texture to it. So you are going to find if you're someone who is particularly sensitive that maybe around the collar you might get a little bit of grief from wearing something like this. So you want to be wearing it with something that's high necked or with a sweater that feels really cozy and comfortable against your skin. But overall, I mean, I think the quality of this is beautiful. It is more of an expensive item, so I think I paid $560 for this. But as far as spending your budget for the season, coats are definitely an area in your closet where I've always felt it is worth spending a little bit more to get a good quality item that is going to last you for years, as opposed to really skimping and splurging elsewhere. So yeah, that is the Houndstooth Mark coat, and definitely one I'm very, very excited to be pulling out next autumn winter here in Australia, or because we've had some inclement weather, maybe I might get a chance to wear it before summertime. Now let's talk about an item that I think I'm going to send back. So these are called the Theophile trousers, and these retail for $230. Again, and actually I think I got everything aside from one item in the 36 size small A weight US 4. So that's what I got in this. All of the sizing information and item links will be down in the description box below actually. So these I was drawn to because I really like the look of the texture. They felt like they were going to be a much heavier weight woolen trouser, and that's exactly what they are. But I have to say I was actually a bit surprised by just how heavyweight and structured they are in person. I couldn't really get a real sense of it from the photos. So these have the tortoiseshell button at the front. They have these really nice wide belt loops as well, so you can fasten it, cinch it in a little bit more at the waist if you need to. They also have the pleats down the front here and pockets at the hip. Then you do have the pockets on the back too. The other thing about these, aside from the fact that they are really structured and really heavyweight pant, these would be perfect if you lived in a super cold climate, is that they are so long. And I mean, I'm 172 centimeters tall, but my inseam to the top of my ankle bone is 69 centimeters. So verging on petite territory here, which is why a lot of trousers like this, I do need to get tailored. And I would need to get these tailored quite considerably for them to be at a length that worked with most of my shoes, or at least the shoes that I would want to wear them with. I do think they look really great with a boot though. Maybe a pointed toe boot would look really nice. I don't have any here because they're all in storage. So the composition is 65% wool, 10% cashmere, 25% polyamide and 5% polyester. And they do actually have a lining as well. So these, similar to the coat, they are textured. They do have this sort of woolen texture to them, which I think makes them look really interesting. And I think if you had this on your bare skin, it would be a little bit uncomfortable. But because of the lining, it makes them very bearable, very easy to wear. So yeah, those are the Theophile pants. They look beautiful on the models, but clearly I'm not model height, and they're just, I think if I were to shorten them, I'm not really sure that they would work that well for me. So if you are petite, perhaps one to avoid. Though I do have a pair of trousers which will work if you're petite. I think this particular color has sold out, but these are called the Ross trousers, and I've got them in the navy tartan, which I love. It feels very kind of festive as well, very sort of suited to those cooler months. So again, this is that same sort of textured wool, but these ones, unlike the Theophile, don't have that lining the whole way down. It's just the pockets that have any sort of lining against your skin. These are 60% wool, 35% polyamide and 5% polyester. So yeah, if you are particularly sensitive, again, probably one to avoid. But I think the Ross trousers, they come in different fabric compositions, so take a little look on the website because there might actually be some that will work for you. I really like that these have an elasticated waistband while still having that really smart structured silhouette. They taper in slightly to the ankle, but they're not super narrow at the leg opening, so you can actually fit a boot under them as well, which is a look I personally really like. And I think it's a way to kind of wear those more tapered and cropped trousers, but still feel modern at the same time. And the elasticated waistband, I mean, this just feels like a real nod to the fact that many of us are looking for those leisure elements in our clothing because we are leading much more relaxed, casual lifestyles. I got these again in the 36 US 4 AU8, and I would say they do fit true to size, but the only thing that I would mention is if I have something in my pockets, the waistband on them does drag down and I have to constantly adjust and pull them up. If my kids are climbing on me, my son quite often likes to do that, they will kind of start to slip down. Again, I have to adjust them. So I think possibly you could go down a size if you wanted to have a little bit more security at the waist, because these aren't tight through the thigh or the leg at all. So those are the Ross trousers, and for price, these are 205 Australian dollars. Okay, I want to move on to one of my summer wardrobe basics, and this is the Paxton t-shirt, which retails for 100 Australian dollars. This one I purchased in the size small. This is a t-shirt that I absolutely love because they've done some real sorcery with the design here, and you're going to get a real sense of this from the cutaway. It looks like there is padding in the shoulders, but there actually isn't at all. It is just some very clever stitching and design details, and I really like the fact that it has that structured component, and the sleeves are sort of drapes down, and I think it's a really great way to be able to play with proportions in your outfits by having that stronger element up near your face. I love the fact that it's organic cotton. It is more of a structured piece, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So it will have a little bit of a stiffness to it when you are tucking it in. It's not going to kind of drape and sort of cling to the body. It's going to sort of balloon out slightly and have some shape there, which is great too, and that's something I like. This ecru color is a very sort of light yellow cream, I would say, but it's very easy to pair, and I find it works really nicely with white as well. I have washed this and it's come out looking great, really easy to steam out all the creases as well. So that one has been such a brilliant little addition to my closet. And at the same time I bought that one, I also purchased the Polka skirt. And I'm gonna say this is one I could definitely take it or leave it. I have a pair of shorts from Madewell which are really similar to this with the paper bag waist. It's an element or a detail that I do quite like in my clothing. The actual fabrication of this is really nice. It's a cotton linen mix, and it has this really beautiful sort of texture to it, which is horizontal, almost has this little kind of stripes, kind of like a boucle, I suppose, reminiscent of my House of Dagmar trousers. And look, I don't know if it's maybe the length or if it's the fact that it has these kind of cargo-esque patch pockets on the front, but I don't really find myself that drawn to this item. In terms of the quality, it is great, and it is fully lined too, has a zip-up closure at the front, and then of course you do have that really cute little belt rope detail. I haven't laundered this, but I think that you could. I actually find that I don't even need to use the fastening at the front. I just pull it on because it is very, very elasticated around the waist, and the elastic is quite sort of stretchy and has a lot of movement to it. Again, my usual size is 36. US 4, AU 8, and I do feel like it is a really good fit, and because of the rope at the waist you can easily cinch it in more if you need to. Definitely a style that I think if you're in between sizes, go with the larger of the two for sure. And this one retailed for 170 Australian dollars, but as I said, this is definitely one that I could take it or leave it. So if you're on the fence about this, I think that the brand does other more special pieces. Next, we have to talk about the Thalia dress, which is another one of my recent favorites from the brand. And this is in this beautiful emerald green. It is a midi length dress, and when I saw this, I thought it would be the perfect office appropriate dress because despite the fact that it does have this scoop at the back, it isn't too revealing and it doesn't cut down too low. So it actually sits above my bra band. That's definitely the barometer for me as to whether or not a scoop back is appropriate for the office or not. What I really like about this is the little scalloped edge detailing around the neckline, which you should be able to see from the cutaways, and that's also replicated as well at the cuff of the sleeves. And one thing about these sleeves is that they aren't a full length, they're kind of a 7/8 length in a way. So if you are petite or your arms just are a little bit shorter, then you will find that these are going to be a really nice sort of flattering, ever so slightly cropped fit on you. Now this one retailed for $250, and from sizing, yeah, I got it in the size small. I find that these pieces are really, really stretchy. So if your size is sold out, you could probably go up one or down one, and it really shouldn't have too much of an effect at all. This would actually also make a really great maternity option as well, though not very breastfeeding friendly. In terms of the fabric, this is made out of their EcoVero lensing fabric, which I have washed before. It does wash really well, and I find it really, really soft, very comfortable to wear, and this kind of feels a little bit like a second skin. I'm not wearing any sort of shapewear underneath in the cutaways, but I think if I was having a bloated day, today's a good day, then I would probably want to wear something like that, just because it is so form-fitting and it does really kind of skim over and hug every single curve. But I think this is just so beautiful. If you've had your eye on it and you've been umming and ahhing, then maybe take this one as your sign to buy it, because I think it is just beautiful. As you can tell, I've got a lot of hits here. I definitely tend to send back the items that don't work out for me. Next I want to talk about another t-shirt, and this one is called the Martha t-shirt, and this was a relatively recent addition to my wardrobe. This one is made out of linen. I think it's 100% linen. Let me just double check. Sorry, it's 50% cotton, 50% linen, and I really love the blend of those two fabrics together because I find it has this really beautiful texture to it, which is quite sort of soft and lofty. Like, I mean, you can kind of see how it drapes so beautifully in my hand, but it isn't completely flat. So it adds a bit of dimension and texture or textural interest to your outfits. I got this in a size small, and I do feel like it fits true to size for a relaxed fit, and it looks really great worn tucked in. Again, this is another one that I have thrown in the wash and it washes really well. It came out looking perfect. The only thing that I noticed is that the seams have started to twist. Now, this is not a deal breaker for me. I have had t-shirts at both the low end of the price spectrum and the high end have twisted seams, but it is really annoying, especially when you've dropped $80 on a t-shirt, because that's not pennies. That is quite a considerable amount for one item. I've said this so many times before, but I don't necessarily think you need to splurge on a t-shirt. The high street does so many fantastic options. Next, I want to talk about the Christie jacket, which is one of Sezane's core blazer styles. And I mean, it's not hard to see why. It is very timeless and classic. It's not a silhouette that is going to date at all. It's something that I think you could wear it 5 years ago, 5 years from now, and you're still going to look current. And that's the really nice thing about this particular style. It is double-breasted, so it just does over or fastens with the one button there. And all of the Christie jackets have these beautiful buttons. This particular one has these gold-backed dark brown tortoise buttons, which I think are just stunning, and that's one thing Sezane always nails, the buttons. They're always really beautiful. This one here is 100% wool, so as you can imagine, that makes it really thick and it gives it a lot more structure than if it were in another fabrication. So I know they do the Christie jacket in sort of a linen viscose mix, I believe. There's a few different colors, and each different fabric that they use generally has a different composition, so always pays to check that when you are browsing on the website. Again, if you have sensitive skin, this is probably going to bother you, at least around the neckline and where the fabric might touch your skin, especially if you are wearing a lower tank or t-shirt or top, should I say, underneath, just if it kind of grazes your skin along the chest. I have reasonably sensitive skin, but I tried it on with a t-shirt underneath and I was absolutely fine because the interior is lined. It is really beautiful quality, and I love the fact that you're getting a 100% wool blazer for $285. I think that that is an absolute steal, especially given how well made it is and how impeccable and sharp the tailoring and fit of this actually is. This jacket runs small in my opinion. I originally purchased the matching jacket to Ross trousers in the 36, and it was just way too snug on my arms. So I've sized up to a 38 here, and I think it actually fits me the way that it should. It doesn't feel like it's pulling across my body. It also doesn't feel like there is too much room in the arms. It doesn't feel like the shoulder seam is hanging over my shoulder. So I would say this is one to size up in. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think of this, because I'm on the fence about whether or not I keep it in my wardrobe or not. It's a beautiful blazer, but I feel like maybe I'd be better served with something that wasn't quite so heavy, especially given that I live in such a warm climate. I've got just 3 more items. Next one is the Rosalinda blouse, and I'm really sorry if this one is no longer available. I think it comes in and out of stock. This one retails for 160 Australian dollars, and again, I got it in the size 36 AUA US4. This is a fully pleated or plissé blouse, and for that reason, it is in 100% polyester. The reason being that other natural fibers, they won't hold a pleat like this, especially if you put it through the wash. So there is a technical purpose for that. I really like the fact that around the collar, you do have this strip of fabric, and then you have this almost Victorian-esque ruffle around the neck, which is really beautiful. And again, they have this really stunning little button at the keyhole closure at the nape of the neck, which is in a black enamel. There's also the slight balloon effect of the sleeves, which is emphasized by the fact that the cuffs are quite tight around the wrist, so you get this beautiful volume and shape through the sleeves, which I personally really love. I think probably my only thing with this blouse is that I find it a little bit tricky to style sometimes, because it is incredibly feminine, and my style kind of it sort of straddles the boundaries of being a bit more feminine and a little bit more masculine. I like to have a bit of crossover or cross-pollination between the two, and being in this kind of light pale ecru, which has a slight yellow undertone to it, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging, though I find it pairs really nicely with those other ecru pieces from Sezane in particular, and also it looks really nice with a fresh white item or even with a little black mini skirt. So that's the Rosalinda blouse. Hopefully it's still available because it is absolutely stunning. Next up we have the Nolly cardigan, and I don't know if you can get a real sense of this through the camera, but this is so heavyweight. It's so incredibly thick and lush, and it is really, really warm. It's an organic cotton and merino wool blend, so it is really nice and soft actually to the touch, feels really, really comfortable and is not itchy at all, but that also means that it's going to be really insulating and warm. Merino wool is a great thermoregulator. Now this has the teddy collar, and actually this kind of reminds me a little bit of a bomber jacket in a way, but a long line version. I love the button details on the front. They are those dark, almost tortoise effect buttons again, with a slight sort of sheen to them that run all the way down. I actually personally prefer to wear this worn open. I think that looks really, really nice, especially with a wide leg trouser. And I went with my usual size. I got the size small because I did want it to have a relaxed fit. If you wanted it to be a little bit slimmer on the body, then I would recommend sizing down. This one is a little bit more expensive, so it is $420. So definitely you'd be able to find alternatives that are more affordable than this, but I do think the quality is outstanding, and this is a really, really special item, something that you're going to keep and cherish and love for years and years to come. And I do feel like it sits quite closely within that jacket category in your closet as well. The final item that I've got are called the Pepper mid boots, and these are in a black suede. They also come in kind of a khaki olive colored suede as well. The suede on these feels really robust, like the type that, just say you got splashed with a bit of dirty water and it hardened, it was a bit muddy, you'd be able to just brush it off and they would look like new. These do have the sort of block heel, and this is kind of a mid heel height, I would say. It's about 2.5 inches high, and I find it really comfortable to walk around in. To put them on, it's very easy. It's got the elasticated gusset on the side here, that very classic Chelsea boot detail, and of course the rounded toe too. These are a really, really classic boot. Now these retail for 330 Australian dollars, and I think you probably could find something similar, probably in a leather from the high street around the $200 mark if you weren't wanting to spend quite so much. The leather on them is really nice and thick though, and like I said, they are well made, but really it's going to come down to your budget and how much money you're willing to spend on a pair of shoes. I personally tend to like spending a little bit more on my footwear, especially having wide feet and a bunion. For me, it is a must. From a sizing perspective, so I've got these in the French 41, which I find their sizing really confusing because now on the Australian website it's all in UK sizing, so I would be a UK 7, but I think I opted for these in the UK 8, which is their size, the Sezane sizing of 41, and a US 10, whereas usually I would get the US 9 because I do find their shoes run a little bit larger. So yeah, that's the final item from Sezane that I added to my wardrobe recently. I hope that you found this video helpful, especially getting to see it try on and also getting a little bit more insight into the textural elements of all of these items. I am such a tactile person by nature, so it's an important part of the shopping experience for me, and if I don't like the way something feels, then 9 times out of 10 I'm probably going to be returning it. As I mentioned earlier, you probably get a sense that I am really quite particular about the fabric composition for the items that I purchase from Sezane, and that has definitely allowed me to have a lot more hits than misses over the past couple of years. Just avoiding their polyamide knitwear in particular has been a real game changer for me, because those were usually the items that I would end up sending back, and as much as I love the designs, I have basically vowed not to do so anymore, which is why I was so thrilled to see the Nolly cardigan, because that being in the organic cotton and the wool, I just think it's such a perfect blend and it feels so comfortable. But thank you so much for watching, for spending some of your day with me, and I would love to know if you had a favorite piece, if there's anything that you are eyeing up from Sezane, because I'm always adding new pieces to my wish list. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I am forever grateful, and I will see you next time with a brand new video. See you very soon. Bye.